Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is November 8th, and it's our first off-season episode, and we've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today, ladies and gentlemen? It's been close to now a week, if not a week actually, since the Rangers have hoisted the Commissioner's Cup for the first time in their franchise history. But we're here for an off-season episode, the first of most likely many. Still kind of working out the miniature details of how I want to operate and how I want to do things. But we do have things to cover in today's episode, a lot actually, just because we've had a couple days off. We haven't recorded since Friday, so we're just gonna jump into it. And these episodes will kind of be like just going with the flow. I want to emphasize that there's 30 teams, all with different news and rumors. So I'll only be covering certain ones, specific ones, things that I find interesting and want to talk about. There's too many major moves to happen in an off season for me to cover just every single piece of information. Miniature trades of like minor leaguers or prospects, unless they're top tier prospects, we're not going to cover it. Just small things that players getting claimed. I might mention a few of them, but a lot of players are claimed, a lot of players are placed on waivers. We can't talk about all of that, so go bear with me as we try to do this. It's just me here, so I've conducted a good amount of research for this first episode here. Got things that I want to talk about. So yeah, we're just going to jump right on in, and let's talk about the Gold Glove winners first. So during the playoffs, they announced the Gold Glove finalists, but over the weekend, they announced the winners already, so we're going to take a look at them. I didn't really talk about the Gold Gloves during the playoffs just because of how intense the playoffs were and how in-depth I was going in those episodes. We'll start with the AL, and we've got catcher behind the dish from your championship Texas Rangers. It is Jonah Heim as your Gold Glove winner. Joining him from Texas as well is the first baseman, Nathaniel Lau. And how about in right field, Adolis Garcia? 3 Texas Rangers make the cut there, so congratulations to those 3. At second base, it's Andres Jimenez from your Cleveland Guardians, so congrats there. Shortstop, Anthony Volpe, the rookie from the New York Yankees, in his first season has his first Gold Glove. At third base, how about Matt Chapman for the Blue Jays, and not the only Blue Jay, as a center fielder was Kevin Kiermaier, who is now a free agent as well. And then the pitcher, Jose Barrios. So 3 Blue Jays received Gold Gloves winners, and of course they were one of the best defensive teams in the season. Surprise Dalton Varsho, who led the whole league in DRS, which is defensive run saves, didn't get one, so that was a little weird to me. And then left fielder, this should have been Varsho's, but it is Steven Kwan from your Cleveland Guardians. So there's 2 Guardians on the list here, with Jimenez at second and now Kwan at left field. And then the last one, the utility, which is one that they've introduced recently, and that's going to the Houston Astros. Mauricio Dubon gets his Gold Glove. So congratulations to all of those American League winners. Looking at the NL side of things, starting with the catcher, traded from the Blue Jays on the finalists, second place runner-up, Arizona Diamondbacks, the youngster Gabriel Moreno wins his first Gold Glove in his rookie season. Is it his rookie season, or did he get enough playing time last year? I think he got enough playing time last year, actually, so I don't think this is his rookie season. But regardless, quite the accomplishment for the young catcher, and he's not the only Diamondback, because at first base, we have Christian Walker, one of the finest defensive first basemen in the game right now. He's won this award a couple of times now, so good for Walker. I jumped the gun a little bit. Second baseman from the Cubs is Nico Hoerner. And joining him on the other side of the diamond, up the middle, is the shortstop, Dansby Swanson, the Cubs. Defensive heavy over there in the middle infield. So good there. Third baseman, I was surprised by this one. Ke'Bryan Hayes. You know what? That guy kind of fell off in my radar a little bit. I don't know how well of a season that he had with the Pirates. This guy was a talked upon top prospect. Then after getting hurt, sometimes he's kind of faded in the mindset. But you know what? He's still there, and he was a good hitter. So obviously the glove came around as well. So good for Ke'Bryan there. Left fielder joining the infield duo from the Cubs. It is Ian Happ, being the third Cub to win a Gold Glove. So congrats there. Out in center from the Rockies, the rookie Brenton Doyle. He had quite the season out there and is deserving of a Gold Glove. So congratulations to Doyle there. Right fielder. Now this one is a big surprise. How about Fernando Tatis Jr.? And I believe this is his first season managing the outfield, and he did a really good job of it. It was throwing out runners. It wasn't like an automatic out. So congrats to Fernando. Way to transfer from short to right field and get the job done, and we'll win a glove. For the utility, it is also a Padres, and it is Ha-Seong Kim, who was mostly playing second base, but had his days at short and third. And then the pitcher for the NL, it is Zach Wheeler from your Philadelphia Phillies. So once again, congratulations to all of your NL Gold Glove winners. For Andres Jimenez, Stephen Kwan, the two Guardians there, Christian Walker, Dansby Swanson, and Ian Happ, they're back-to-back winners. They also won a Gold Glove last year, so for some of these, it's not their first rodeo, and I know Matt Chapman's won quite a few in his days as well. I want to mention Ha-Seong Kim as well very quickly. He's the first Asian-born infielder and Korean-born infielder to win a Gold Glove, so congratulations to Kim. And how about the rookies? Anthony Volpe, Brenton Doyle, their first years winning a Gold Glove, and if you want to count Gabriel Moreno in there, even though he played a lot last year, but still, very impressive list. So congratulations to all of those winners. The Cubs, the Rangers, and the Blue Jays having the most with 3. But yeah, Gold Gloves. All right, now let's move on to the awards, and more specifically the award finalists, as they have all been announced. So we're going to review all 3 and make my selections. So starting off, we have our AL Manager of the Year from the Texas Rangers, Bruce Bochy; from the Tampa Bay Rays, Kevin Cash; and from your Baltimore Orioles, Brandon Hyde. And now all 3 well-done managers throughout the regular season. But for me, it comes down really to Brandon Hyde versus Bruce Bochy. And I want to give it to Hyde, man. I mean, Baltimore was the best American League team. Absolutely nobody had that on their radar. The Baltimore's expectations were high, but not that high. They won 100 games. They had quite literally one of the best seasons Baltimore's had in a extremely long time. I think Hyde deserves it, and that's who I would think, and hopefully is the winning of that award. But if Bochy wins it, I mean, he also had a really well season, managing through a lot of different obstacles that Texas had to face, and of course it does help that they also won the World Series. The NL Managers of the Year. How about Craig Counsell, who I'll have to talk about a little bit later on in this show. Skip Schumacher from your Marlins, and then Brian Snitker from your Braves. All have reasons to win this award. Brian Snitker obviously leading the Braves, to be the best NL team in the league. Craig Counsell, of course, the Brewers. He leads them to another postseason through a tough division, I guess, a competitive division. Let's say that. I wouldn't say tough, but he does a great job managing. He's one of the premier managers in the game right now. And you'll soon understand why in a little bit. And then Skip Schumacher, let's be honest, the Marlins, they made the postseason this year, and that was going to be a hard bargain, for the Marlins at the beginning of the season. They got through teams like the Cardinals, the Padres, the Mets. They outlasted teams like the Cubs, the Reds, the Giants even. So it was definitely it's a well-earned vote for Skip Schumacher, and I would love to see him win it in his first year with the Marlins. However, I do think Brian Snitker deserves it. He is a top-tier manager. He does a lot to get the Braves to to be the best team at the end of the season. Obviously, they didn't have the results they liked in the postseason, but there's only so much you can do. But in my mind, I think Brian Snitker is deserving of the NL Manager of the Year award. Moving on, now we have the AL Rookie of the Year. From the Guardians, how about Tanner Beebe? I believe I'm pronouncing that right still. Or Bebe, not sure there. Pitcher. For the Boston Red Sox, Tristan Casas, first baseman there. And then, of course, I believe third baseman, maybe shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles, Gunnar Henderson. All three, again, deserving of the award. Tanner Beebe, what a season he had. He was 10-4, just under 3 ERA at 2.98, pitched in 25 games, struck out 141 batters, and only gave up 47 earned runs, 142 innings pitched. I mean, he had a really good year with the Guardians and, is deserving of some votes. Tristan Casas, what a year he had with the Red Sox, talking about 113 hits, 66 runs, 24 home runs. That power was there. 65 RBIs. He walked 70 times. Batting average of 263, on base of 367, and an OPS of 856. So a very strong year from the first baseman / DH there. And then Gunnar Henderson, of course, is most likely the favorite. 143 hits. How about 29 doubles, 9 triples? Wow. 28 home runs, 82 ribbies. He had 10 stolen base, which is not that bad. 100 runs scored. The batting average of 255, an on base of 325, an OPS of 814. So you can make your case that it is Tristan Casas going off of those numbers. But I do believe Gunnar Henderson overall, as well as his defense and everything he was to be a part of the Baltimore team and help them get to the position they were in. I would say Gunnar Henderson would be my bet for the AL Rookie of the Year. Now for the NL Rookies of the Year. First off, we have Corbin Carroll from the Diamondbacks. And what more can you say about this kid? 161 hits, 116 runs, 10 triples, 25 home runs, 76 RBIs, 54 stolen bases, a 285 batting average, a 362 on base, an OPS of 868. He was also an all-star. Just an overall an amazing year from Corbin Carroll and the Diamondbacks in general. Moving on, we got James Outman from the Dodgers, and this guy had a sneaky good season as well. 120 hits, 23 home runs, 70 RBIs, 86 runs scored. He stole a couple bags, 16 stolen bases there, a 248 batting average, a 353 on base, leading up to an OPS of 790. So a good season from Outman. Definitely a player that will be, a top-tier player on the Dodgers, perhaps, if he continues to develop and, play baseball like this season. It was a very strong season. And then lastly, we have from the Mets, pitcher from Japan, I believe, Kodai Senga. What a season he had. He was an all-star. 12-7 on the year in 29 starts, an ERA of 2.98, 166 innings pitched. Struck out 202 batters, so the strikeouts were there. Gave up a couple of runs, 55 runs scored, but all in all, a very strong season from Senga. One of the highlights in the Mets season. And as well as James Outman and Senga, they both played great throughout the regular season, but my prediction says Corbin Carroll is a lock, and it will be a lock for Corbin Carroll. So congrats to him already. All right, now moving on, we have the AL Cy Young recipients. Starting off with the Yankees, Garrett Cole, who was 15-4, a 2.63 ERA. Was pitching really well this year. He had 222 strikeouts and really was that ace of that Yankee staff, and of course was an all-star. For the Blue Jays, Kevin Gausman, he was an all-star selection as well. He did turn it down to spend the year with his family. 12-9, a 3.16 ERA, led the AL in strikeouts at 237. A really strong year for Gausman, made 31 starts, which is exactly what you want. And then lastly, from the Twins, Sonny Gray, who is now a free agent, of course. He was an all-star in his age 33 season here. He was 8-8, a 2.79 ERA, 183 strikeouts, and he stayed healthy throughout the year, made 32 starts, pitched 184 innings. So a strong year from Sonny Gray, once ace of the Oakland Athletics back in 2015. Yeah. And as good as the season Sonny Gray had, I think he will come in third here. I think it comes down to Garrett Cole and Gausman. The numbers would say Cole, but if you watched Kevin Gausman pitch, he was nasty. That split finger is one of the best pitches in baseball. Just hands down, it is. Kevin Gausman's split finger, put it up there at like number 3, number 2. So I would be surprised if Sonny Gray wins it, but I think it comes down to Cole and Gausman. And for fun, I'm going to say Kevin Gausman is your AL Cy Young. I think he pitched really well this season, despite his numbers saying otherwise, but I'd give it to Gauss. Now for the NL Cy Young, and we have here from Arizona, Zach Gallen, who was my pick to win the Cy Young at the beginning of the year, so I'm quite happy he pitched up to those standards. He was an all-star, 17-9, a 3.47 ERA, made 34 starts, wow, 220 strikeouts for him as well in 210 innings, so a good year for Gallen. Moving on, we got Blake Snell from the Padres, and what a season he had. He started the first month and a bit kind of struggling, and then he flipped the switch and was the best pitcher going forward. 14-9, a 2.25 ERA, led all of baseball with that. 234 strikeouts, 180 innings, and he stayed healthy and pitched in 32 games. It was a very impressive year for Blake Snell, and I think he is the lock right now, which means he would join a select list of players to win the Cy Young in both the AL and NL. Remember, he was the 2018 Cy Young for the AL with the Tampa Bay Rays. But the last nomination here is Logan Webb, who kind of threw me for a loop here. I did not think Logan Webb was doing so hot. His win-loss record doesn't show it, 11-13 with a 3.25 ERA. Pitched in a career high for him in 216 innings, the most he's ever pitched. And it was almost at 200 strikeouts. He finished the season with 194. I was surprised that he beat out Spencer Strider and Justin Steele, Spencer Strider from the Braves and Justin Steele from the Cubs. I thought Justin Steele was going to get it. So I am surprised to see Logan Webb here. I think it does come down to Blake Snell and Zach Gallen. And although the numbers and everything, like Blake Snell will most likely win, I'm predicting that he will. But I'm going to hope for Gallen. I'm going to stay with my gut going back to the beginning of the season and hope that Zach Gallen wins the Cy Young there. And now finally we have the MVPs, and I'm not going to talk about the AL for very long. Shohei Ohtani will win it. He had 151 hits, a career high 44 home runs for him. And obviously that would have been much higher had he been healthy for the last couple of months there. An OPS of 1.066 led the league in OPS, slugging, on-base percentage, and home runs, or at least led the AL there. So very impressive stuff throughout for Ohtani. If you want to talk about pitching, it's just as good. 10-5, a 3.14 ERA, 167 strikeouts. It's going to be Ohtani who wins his second MVP. But if you want to talk about everyone else really quickly, Corey Seager from your Texas Rangers, he would have won it had it not been for Ohtani. 42 doubles on the year, 33 home runs, 96 ribbies. An OPS of 1.013 and a batting average of 327. also an all-star like Ohtani, and then joining him is his teammate Marcus Semien, who was an all-star for Texas, played in every single game, had the most play appearances, the most at-bats out of anyone in the AL, led the league in hits and runs at 122 for runs, 185 on hits, a 276 batting average, and 826 OPS. How about 29 big flies for him, 100 ribbies straight out, and 40 doubles. So a very strong season for Semien there. This is kind of giving 2021 vibes where you had Ohtani versus Vlad, and then Semien was the third player who, of course, Semien was a Blue Jay that year. So once again, Marcus Semien will come third behind Ohtani and then his teammate. So it's pretty funny there for Marcus Semien to be nominated twice, only to lose to a more deserving teammate as well as the unicorn of Shohei Ohtani. And now, finally, we have the NL MVP, and we start with the Braves for Ronald Acuna Jr. And what a season. 73 stolen bases, 41 home runs, the first ever 40-70 season in MLB history, 217 hits, 35 doubles, an average of 337, and an OPS of 1.012. It's pretty crazy the numbers Acuna can put up when he stays healthy. It's the most games he's played in a season in his entire career. Back in 2019, which was his best season before, he only played 156, which was 3 less, but still, since then, 82 games in 21, 120 in 2022. So it's good to have him healthy for a full season and the numbers he can put up when he does. And then joining him, it's 2 Dodgers, starting off with Mookie Betts, another all-star for him. Of course, Acuna was also an all-star. Another great season for Betts, 179 hits, 307 batting average, a 987 OPS. How about 39 home runs? It was almost going to be his first ever 40 home run season if he could have gotten one more out there. 107 RBIs, and good for Mookie Betts. Then, of course, Freddie Freeman, he's won an MVP before with the Braves in that shortened season, but he's done it again. 211 for hits, 59 doubles. He was a doubles hitting machine, a 331 batting average, and a 976 OPS. Generally, also an all-star. I consider him one of the best hitters in the game right now in terms of just pure hitting. If there's a guy that you want up there at the end of the game, it's usually Freeman. And of course, special shout out to Matt Olson. What an amazing season he had as well. Of course, just, would have been 4th place here. But so Acuna, Betts, and Freeman are your NL MVPs. And I mean, when you're creating your own category for yourself in the 40-70 season, I think Ronald Acuna Jr. will win it. That will wrap up that. This ran very long, talked about things. So, in conclusion, Brandon Hyde, Brian Snitker for Managers of the Year, Gunnar Henderson and Corbin Carroll for Rookies of the Year, Kevin Gausman and Blake Snell for your Cy Youngs, even though I'm hoping Gallen wins it. And then MVPs will be Ohtani and Acuna. The Rookies of the Year will be announced on the 13th, Managers on the 14th, Cy Young on the 15th, and the MVP on the 16th, all of next week. So stay tuned for that. Okay, now let's talk about some managerial news. And starting off, he used to be catcher for the Oakland A's as well as other teams, but now he is the Guardians' new manager. Stephen Vogt has been appointed as the replacement for Terry Francona, who of course retired. I love Stephen Vogt. As a player, he was one of those players that even though, he might not have been on my favorite team, he was just a fun at-bat to watch, a guy who always grinds, give it 110%. He knows the game very well, and I think it's going to be, hopefully, a good bet for the Guardians, and hopefully Vogt pans out to be a really good manager. But of course, we'll have to see how that goes. The New York Mets have hired Carlos Mendoza to be their new manager. He was the Yankees bench coach, but now he is managing the Mets. So congrats to Carlos Mendoza. And then the big one here, the big news of the day, or at least, at the time, Craig Counsell from your Milwaukee Brewers. He's done incredible work there. He is now with the Cubs. Ross was fired in parts of the move. They announced Counsell hired before Ross was being fired. So tough break for David Ross, because I thought he always did a pretty good job. Came close with the Cubs this year. But of course, Craig Counsell is an extreme manager. He's getting 5 years with that, and over $40 million, the largest manager contract in MLB history for Counsell. And I mean, he's done really well with the Brewers in, I think, 5 seasons. They took him to the postseason like 4 times. A very strong manager in general. He's one of those guys that just kind of controls the clubhouse. He's very, stern with the way he goes about his business. It's pretty crazy. Bob Melvin, he was set to have the highest manager salary in 2024 at $4 million, and now it's Craig Counsell, who just got $40 million over 5 years. So that's a pretty crazy thing to happen for Counsell. And I'll tell you right now, the Brewers front office is not happy. There is some quotes that I want to read out. This one is from Mark Canha, part of the Brewers owner. He said, "We lost Craig, but I've reflected on this. Craig has lost us, and he's lost our community. It's a really special place to be." There's a park just outside of Milwaukee in Craig Counsell's hometown. It's called the Craig Counsell Park. That was vandalized the night after he signed. So people were not happy. There's just, obviously things that are unhappy about it. The owner said that when he first told me, like, are you messing with me? Like, people were shocked by the news, because Counsell has been that, like, hometown guy, loyal to his community, and, doing this move is, it's pretty different. So people are definitely mixed about that whole situation there. But yeah, so Cubs have a new manager, Mets have a new manager, and the Guardians have a new manager. So if we look at the managerial list in general, the Angels, the Astros, the Brewers now, and the Padres are still looking for a manager. The Cubs, Guardians, and Mets have found them. And of course, remember the Giants with Bob Melvin, they have new ones as well. We know that Terry Francona and Dusty Baker both retired, but guys who are out there technically who managed this year: Buck Showalter was released by the Mets, Gabe Kepler done with the Giants, David Ross now, and then Phil Nevins with the Angels. So all of those 4 were relieved of their duties. Staying with the manager news, the Diamondbacks have extended Torey Lovullo through the 2026 season. So that just goes to show you, of course, he's been there with the Diamondbacks since 2017. And then a couple rumors here quickly. It is believed that Mike Shildt is the favorite for the Padres manager opening. Of course, he was last managing the Cardinals a few years back. And then the Angels have interviewed Ron Washington, the first base coach from the Atlanta Braves, a very well-liked guy in the baseball community. It's a guy that you should know the name of if you follow baseball somewhat heavily. He's definitely one of those guys who's like, you don't really know other teams' coaches, but Ron Washington is definitely one of them. He is a great guy to have. So I would love to see him in a manager job as well. Alrighty, now let's talk about the first big news of the offseason, outside of options and extensions and all that. It's Mark Canha, and he has been traded from the Milwaukee Brewers to the Detroit Tigers. A pretty interesting move there. Obviously, last year spent time with 2 teams, the Mets, and then was traded to the Brewers. But in total, played in 139 games, 114 hits, 11 home runs, 62 ribbies, an OPS of 755. He really turned it on with the Brewers once he got there. 5 home runs and 6 with the Mets, and he played nearly in 30 more games with the Mets. His OPS was 800. He was batting 287. Just overall, his numbers just got better when he got to Milwaukee and had a really good close to his season. This is a guy who's going to be 35 this year. in the 2024 season. And the club exercised his options. So they will be paying him $11.5 million this year. And then after this year, it is free agent time for him. So, let's see what kind of news he gets in his age 36 season. But this is a one-year deal, essentially, for the Tigers. They sent over to the Brewers a guy named Blake Holb, a pitching prospect. So there you go for the Brewers. And then, Tigers making a move already. So good for Detroit. You'll have to see it. Yeah, he's definitely a guy with a lot of pure hitting. Let's move on now and talk about options now. I've made the list of the main ones, the ones that are worth talking about. We're going to go through them kind of quickly here. I'm not going to mention too much, but, just going off of what I saw when I saw them. This is kind of going to be in chronological order with a couple of misses, but we're going to do it anyway. So for the options, this is just combining everything. So whether it was a mutual option, a player option, or a club option, and starting with the decline. So the Dodgers, they started by declining Lance Lynn's $18 million, making him a free agent. The Red Sox declined Corey Kluber, and then Justin Turner declined his option, so they are both free agents, no longer part of the Red Sox organization. Obviously, Cody Bellinger declines his option and will test the free agent waters where he will be one of the best free agents available. Wade Miley is still doing it. He had quite the season towards the end there with the Brewers. He declines his $10 million option, so he's going to see what else he can find out there. Of course, Stroman, one of the top pitchers in the league this year, he hops out of his deal. He had $21 million left to go with the Cubs there, but he will test the free agent waters. Eduardo Rodriguez, this is a big one. He opts out. He had 3 years left and $49 million still to go, so he thinks he can get a better deal. It's an end of an era for Joey Votto as the Reds decline his option, making him no longer part of the Cincinnati Reds. He's taken to Instagram a lot with a lot of posts, good pictures, good quotes, so definitely check out Joey Votto. We love him, Canadian guy. This was another big one. The White Sox are declining Tim Anderson. What an awful season Anderson had, but he's been a top 5 shortstop at times, a few years back. He had $14 million on his contract there. The Padres are declining a 2-year deal, $32 million on Michael Wacha. Said, no thank you. So back to free agency he will go. The Marlins decline Johnny Cueto for $10.5 million. Seth Lugo opts out of his deal with the Padres, and he will hit the market. The Braves are declining some guys from their bullpen. Kirby Yates, Colin McHugh, and Brad Hand are all free agents, all declined by the Braves. The Tigers do keep on to Carson Kelly. He will be sticking around there. I'm not sure why I mixed that up with the keeps and not keeps. The Braves have been declined also. They also got rid of Eddie Rosario. He will be in free agency there. The Dodgers are going to say goodbye to Joe Kelly and Daniel Hudson. They've both been declined. And so now let's take a look at the opt-ins. And we already started with the Tigers. They're keeping Carson Kelly. The Blue Jays are going to keep Chad Green for 2 years that they have left on that contract there. So that's a good move there. Ross Stripling is staying with the Giants. The Dodgers are going to keep Blake Trinan, use their option on him. The Mets will exercise Brooks Riley, and he will be back with the New York Mets. Matt Carpenter had a player option, and he will stay with the Padres and use that. So good stuff there from Carpenter. Get another season for him. A couple of World Series champions are back. Andrew Heaney, he decides to opt in to his next year there, and the Rangers pick up the option on Jose Leclerc, so they will both be back there. Josh Bell is staying with the Marlins. He accepts his $16.5 million option and will have his another season with the Miami Marlins. The Chicago Cubs are keeping Kyle Hendricks, and they have him at $16.5 million to go. The longest tenure Cub right now, 11 years he's been there with the Cubs. Michael Conforto with the Giants, he decides to keep and use his player option. He will get paid $18 million this year. A lot of back and forth on this one, but the Braves are keeping Charlie Morton on a $20 million deal. People were thinking they were not, and of course he ends up doing that. By no one's surprise, Javier Baez is staying with the Tigers for 4 years and $98 million. Hopefully he can turn it around and be that kind of player we all saw when he was with Chicago, but yeah, it's going to be a lot to ask for. Drew Smyly uses his option on the Cubs, and the last one here, the Marlins are going to use their option and keep on to John Birdie. So those are all of the major options that we saw throughout the weekend here. And, certain players hit the free agent market and certain players are sticking with their team. So that's all you can say about that. Hopefully it was a good pace for you guys and you guys were able to kind of listen for the guys that you needed to hear for, the teams you wanted to hear for. And then maybe next time I'll do it like in order of like AL to NL, East to West kind of thing. That way it's a little bit easier for you guys to follow with your favorite teams as well. All right, another thing now to talk about is the qualifying offers. This year, the qualifying offer is a 1-year, $20.325 million deal. If you don't know how a qualifying offer works, if a team offers a qualifying offer, that means they're offering that 1-year, $20.325 million deal to a player. And they can accept it or they can decline it. If they do decline it, the team that is losing that player, if they sign with another team, they'll get an extra draft pick in next year's draft. And of course, you cannot be offered a qualifying offer if you have already had one in the past. There's some other speculations with it, but basically, that's kind of the know-abouts. They will have until 4 p.m. on November the 14th, so maybe that's when we'll do another episode on the 15th, on the Tuesday, but we'll see. Players who did not receive one: Mitch Garver with the Rangers, Teoscar Hernandez with the Mariners, Jorge Soler with the Marlins, and then Rhys Hoskins with the Phillies. So the four of them have already been placed into the free agent pool. They've already been assigned there. And then the players that have received qualifying offers: Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Nola, Blake Snell, Cody Bellinger, Josh Hader, Matt Chapman, and Sonny Gray are the 7 that received a qualifying offer. Obviously, Ohtani, Nola, Snell, Bellinger, Hader will more than likely decline and go get a big deal. Sonny Gray and Matt Chapman are a little bit more interesting. Matt Chapman, of course, being the big bat, one of the bigger bats in the market, as well as the top third baseman. So as much as he has reasons to stay, of course, he had not the best year for a contract year, of course, having a really hot April and then cooling off after that. But Sonny Gray as well had a really strong year. He could definitely go out and find a good deal, but he is getting up there in age. But I do think out of all the 7, the most likely to accept it is Matt Chapman. But of course, he also has plenty of reasons not to accept it. So I will be somewhat surprised if any of these 7 accept their qualifying offer. All right, now I just want to talk about a couple other things that I kind of saw but couldn't really fit it into any other category on its own here. One of the claims, obviously I said at the beginning that I probably wouldn't be touching upon waivers and claims unless they're big names. I thought there's a pretty big name here. Miguel Andujar was claimed by the Oakland Athletics. He's placed on waivers by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Andujar, once a top prospect with the Yankees. He's had some good at bats, he hits okay, but obviously never found the success yet. But I still believe that he's a good pure hitter, and maybe with Oakland he'll be able to do that. So saw that, thought it was interesting. Clayton Kershaw, he is a free agent as of current, but he is also undergoing surgery. He will be out until about June, July-ish. Kind of is where he hopes to come back. That could be interesting for his free agency market. Obviously, Kershaw can, he had an amazing season with the Dodgers, and he can still, pitch the ball well despite getting up there in age. If a team wants him for a long-term deal, I could definitely see that happening, or we maybe won't see him signed until, the trade deadline gets closer, or when he's, healthy and ready to go. So that'll be definitely interesting to see. And the last thing to talk about here, Nelson Cruz has announced his retirement from baseball, and I wanted to talk about that and mention his career that was nearly 20 years. He spent 19 years in the big leagues because he made his debut in 2005 with the Milwaukee Brewers. From there, was traded to Texas to start 2006, at the age of 25, where he spent the majority of his career, followed up by a year in Baltimore, then went to Seattle for a bit, and then from Seattle was with his days in the Bomba squad with the Twins, and then from there he's bounced around with the Rays, the Nationals, and the Padres. 8 years with Texas, 4 years with Seattle, 3 with the Twins, and then 1 year with the Rays, Padres, Nationals, Baltimore. He's a 7-time All-Star, a 4-time Silver Slugger, finishes his career with 464 home runs, over 1,000 RBIs, over 2,000 hits, finishes, just an incredible career, essentially. He's one of the game's purest hitters, and born from Dominican as well. So, congrats to Cruz. He was getting up there. I think it was going to be 44 next year. So, definitely want to give him his dues there. So, congrats and enjoy your retirement, Nelson Cruz. Okay, so we're entering our 40th minute here. Been much longer than I thought. I think I spent more time on the awards than I wanted to. But there is one last thing to do in today's lengthy first off-season episode, and that's to talk about the free agents. There is plenty of them, specifically in the pitching staff. I've made a list here about 50 names or so to just kind of talk about quickly. I was going to spend a lot of time with some of the top free agents, but I don't want to keep you guys too long. For those of you who have listened up to this point. So let's just mention some of the free agents here. Obviously, number one, Shohei Ohtani. What kind of contract will he get is the big question. Obviously, with the surgery he had, he will not be pitching next year, but he will be hitting. Does he get a big year deal? Does he get a 1-year deal? Who knows? I'm very interested in the Ohtani markets. Cody Bellinger turned his season around, so, he's up for a big contract here. Coming over from the NBP, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I hope I pronounced that right. He is an elite pitcher. If you have not seen any videos from him and his pitching this year, go find some, because he is going to be a star for one lucky MLB team. People are thinking New York, but we'll have to see there. The Yankees specifically. Blake Snell could be a Cy Young winner and had an amazing year, and he is in a great lefty. Aaron Nola, another great pitcher. Jordan Montgomery helped Texas get their first franchise cup ever, so he's a big name. Matt Chapman, the big bat after Bellinger and Ohtani, he's there. Josh Hader, it's really rare when you have such an elite pitcher, relief pitcher / closer essentially, hit the free agent market. So Josh Hader should be expecting a big deal, maybe the largest closing pitcher deal ever received in Major League history. Sonny Gray's a name there. How about Shota Amanga? I believe is the pronunciation there, also from the NPB, a left-handed pitcher there. Eduardo Rodriguez, Teoscar Hernandez, Yaimer Candelario. How about Lourdes Gurriel Jr.? What a season he had in his free agent year. This time from the KBO, Jung-Ho Lee, an outfielder, a left-handed outfielder. He's got that pure hitter's instincts as well, so he's going to be a lucky bat for a team. Naming off some other guys now: Jorge Soler, Marcus Stroman, Lucas Giolito, Seth Lugo, JD Martinez, a big bat there. Jordan Hicks, one of the top relief pitching arms. Jack Flaherty, Mitch Garver kind of leads the catchers class. Michael Wacha, Kenta Maeda, Rhys Hoskins coming off a Tommy John year. I believe it was Tommy John. I'm not sure what surgery he had, but he missed the entire year. So let's see what kind of deal he gets as they kind of top 5, top 10 first basemen in the game. Ronaldo Lopez, Mike Clevenger, Kevin Kiermaier. How about Aroldis Chapman? Anybody? Nick Martinez, Michael Lorenzen, Whit Merrifield, Sean Manaea had a good season with the Giants. Harrison Bader, Tyler Mahle. He was injured a lot of the season with the Twins, but he was very good a season ago. What kind of deal does he get? Gio Urshela, Ahmed Rosario is kind of the top shortstop, which is crazy. Justin Turner, Jason Hayward as some young hitters who had turnaround seasons this year. Frankie Montas, Brandon Belt, if he retires or not, we'll have to find about that, but he had a nice season with the Blue Jays. Hector Neris, how about Luis Severino? What kind of deal does he get? He has the stuff, but can he put it together? Liam Hendricks, the White Sox, obviously, comeback player of the year. Liam Hendricks, fighting cancer and everything. What kind of, he's a top closer as well with Hader there. Tim Anderson, Craig Kimbrell, the most likely future Hall of Famer relief pitcher there, closer. Lance Lynn, Adam Duvall, Kyle Gibson, Clayton Kershaw we mentioned, James Paxton, Jock Peterson, Wade Miley, Tommy Pham, Hunter Renfroe, Gary Sanchez, Hyunjin Ryu with the Blue Jays. What kind of deal does he get? Michael A. Taylor. And then the last name I want to mention is, of course, Joey Votto. Hopefully does not retire. Hopefully has one more year with him. Hopefully it's with the Reds still, but who knows. But those are the top kind of free agents. It was a big top. All the names that you would know that are like, hey, that's a guy that I'd want on my team. But yeah, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Not sure when next episode will be. Whether it will be, maybe we'll do it so where it's always Wednesdays now. A lot can happen in a week, though, so I'm not sure if I want to do that. Obviously, when big free agents go, like Ohtani, Bellinger, Snell, Hader even, I'll make a specific episode just talking about that and my thoughts. I'm not sure what's going to happen throughout the offseason. We'll have a lot of time for maybe, rumors and news and stuff like that. But yeah, so I really don't know when the next episode is going to be. I don't know when the first domino is going to fall. But that's what's special about the offseason. But we'll be paying attention to that, talking about news. Every episode will still have a lot of stuff to go over. But hopefully it won't all be 45 minutes or such. But yeah. So thank you, everybody, so much for listening. And I will see you next time.